All right. 16 Tammuz. Yom Yom. 16 Tammuz. Okay, the Baal Shem Tov's Avos Yisrael, love of a fellow Jew, that's what Avos Yisrael means, was beyond imagination. I just want to see what he says here. Yeah, okay. It was beyond imagination. The Maggid said, if only we could have, the Maggid, his student, said, after seeing this, he said, if only we could kiss a Sefer Torah with the same love that my master kissed the children when he took them to Cheder as a teacher's assistant. You know, that's how the Baal Shem Tov so-called made a living. That was his job. He was a teacher's assistant, a TA for kindergarten. Nevertheless, we see, on this page, his Avos Yisrael, his love for the children, and his Avos HaTorah, and of course, all three of them roll into Avos Hashem. Avos Yisrael, Avos HaTorah, Avos Hashem. And Chalavai, that we could have that kind of love, all three dimensions of it. Not bad. So continuing, Tanya, we embody the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei and Chelek Havaya Amoy, and we are a part of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Hey Yud Hey, the Hey upper Hey Shuva Eloh, the upper level of Shuva, the Hey Tato Yud Kei Vav Kei, the lower level of Shuva, and we're exploring how that construct is reflected in us, and therefore we'll understand the aspects of ourselves that need to be involved in these two kinds of Shuva, the two levels of Shuva. Lessons in Tanya, page 1047. Likutei Amorim, top of second line, Tzadik Hey. Okay, short piece today, but let's see. Ukocha mamish, in exactly the same way. In exactly the same way as Hashem models, manifests himself through the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is his name, his Shem HaEtzem, his essential name. In exactly the same way, back inside, Al Derech Mashal, by way of a metaphor, an analogy, Hamavdil Havdalos Le'ein Kates, of course, many, many degrees of separation between us and him, without any numbering the degrees of separation. Yet, the model of Yud Kei Vav Kei is part and parcel of who we are. And though there's a big distance, Le'ein Kates distance, bin Neshamas HaOdam, when it comes to the soul of a person, Shehi Bechinas Nefesh Elokis, which is the godly soul, the Metoichia Nafach, which has been blown into us from deep within him. Very interesting, right? Havdalah said how far away we are, because we're creation by definition. And we're not even a high level of creation. We're not a malach, we're not a seraph, we're not a ifanim, amongst the ifanim. We're down here made of dirt. And that dirt, immeasurably, not even in the boundaries of measurement at all. That's how far away we are. Yet, at the same time, this intimate relationship of blowing, which is in other places a model as kissing, mouth to mouth, we have that close relationship with Hashem, that he literally blows from his depth right into our depth. And that's the manifestation of the Nefesh Elokis, which Hashem metoichio back inside. The toichio, he blew it from within, he blows it from within him constantly. So now we'll look at the structure of the Nefesh Elokis and how it models the structure of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So yesh bo, there is to this soul, mechinas seichel hanelam. There's the concealed level of mind, consciousness, right? Which is merumiz ba'os yud, which is hinted at in the ois yud. Now, the yud is chachma, which at the same time that it's the Reishis Ahistalshalis, the beginning of the whole Seder of what comes out into the body, as the mind is the central control system of everything that goes on in the human body. At the same time that it's that, meaning the beginning of what's coming down and pervades and penetrates throughout, it's also me'ayin timotzei. One has to remember that. The chokhmah me'ayin timotzei. It's found from the ayin, and the ayin is found within it. This is our ability to relate to the English queer words, ineffable, the unexpressible, the super rational. That's the faculty of Chokhmah. We understand, and that was what gives us the ability for our finitude to connect with his infinitude. So the beginning of it all is Chokhmah, just like in his name, Yud Chokhmah. So in our structure, Yud is Chokhmah. That's hinted at in the letter Yud. In which power, in the power of the Yud, Lotzois Elagili is able to bring out to revelation in order for that ineffability, I don't know if that's the right word, that infinity, that ungraspability, that super rational, to be brought out in a revealed way in the levels of Lahavin, BINA, which is the upper hay of understanding and contemplation, Ulahaskil, and to use one's intellect in the contemplation and understanding and the intellectualization of Hashem's truth, and his greatness. Each one of us according to the power that's been given to each one of us differently, individually. According to one's breadth of mindedness, of intellectual capability, and one's understanding. And the understanding, of course, is the letter He, Yud He. And according to the way one uses those capabilities. So we have two capabilities, Chokhmah and Bina, but really we need to really be aware of the power of Chokhmah to bring the ayin, the ineffable, into the level of consciousness that we have. And so there's the ayin, but that's alluded to in the Chokhmah, ayin, Chokhmah, and Bina. And as a person deepens one's mind in this, and broadens one's das, that's the third power, Chokhmah, Bina, das, and his understanding, one is able to his bainin, and one is mandated to contemplate God's greatness. And as one does that, so that action of bringing the ayin through Chokhmah and then into Bina is hinted at by the letter He. That's where the contemplation is baininus, right? Is lashon Bina, right? The word itself is baininus. Beis nun is building. We build something concrete from something totally non-concrete, from unconcrete. The ineffable becomes, the infinite becomes graspable in our finitude. We build something, and that's called Bina. And that's the Ois He. Sheyeshlo, and the Ois He is diagrammatically a picture of the fact that we're taking a little point and we're broadening it out horizontally and lengthening it out vertically, which is the letter He, which has roichev, it has width, v'gam oirech, and it also has length. Hamoira v'hamshocha milamayla lamata, which this breadth and length shows on the drawing down, but particularly the oirech, the length, shows on the drawing down of all of what we've been talking about from above, from the deeper levels of consciousness to the more external levels of consciousness, because from there is lahoiled bibinose, there is born from one's understanding, and one's meditation, contemplation, begedulas Hashem, in the greatness of Hashem, But what's born from there are the midos. Avas Hashem, v'yiras Hashem. Ava v'yira, love and fear. And their offspring, which is each of the two sides from chesed, and on the right, gevura on the left, and the branches down from both sides. And that happens first in one's brain. This is midos sheba moichin. You've heard that expression before. Midos as they are in brain. I mean, one of the other ways in which we're in which we model Hashem is the notion of iskalalus, inter-inclusion. That, and as we've talked about this at length in the Sfiras HaOmer, Chesed Sheba Gevura, Gevura Sheba Chesed, etc. Everything is included one with each other. And the reason they can be, even though Chochmah, Chesed, and Gevura are opposites, is because they are rooted in the singularity, which is Hashem himself, the essence of Hashem, where there are no distinctions. And that rootedness is maintained throughout their manifestation. So even as they're manifest, the midos get manifest first before they become felt midos in the heart. They become midos shebamoya, as he says. They become midos in one's mind and in the deep recesses of one's heart. And afterwards, the progression comes down, the devolvement goes lower. The beginning is galus liboy, and this ayin in the chokhmah, which is in the bina, which is in the midos sheba moyach, which is in the midos and the moyach, all of that becomes manifest in the midos, in the revealed state of the midos in the heart. And from this progression, and it's really from the heart that one does and is meant to do all the midos with a heartfulness, right? And from this is drawn down the true avoida, or a true avoida, in one's occupation in Torah mitzvahs. As we go now lower from midos, right? We get now to the three garments: thought, speech, koil, voice, and dibur. Voice is, remember, the ruach piv, just the plain breath of the mouth, which comes from the heart, because that warmth that's in the breath is coming from the warmth of the heart, and that can elicit a breath, and that breath becomes enclosed in the 5 articulative positions of the mouth in speech, or at the lower level, the maisa. And these are the letters vav v'hei. Coming into speech and coming into deed are signified by the letters vav and then the lower head. V'gam hasboinus, and also there is the necessity for hisboinus, right? I mean, this is the natural flow. I mean, even in a secular concept in the mind can become and does become, and it should become, especially if it's a good concept or a helpful concept, alive and expressed in the heart, and then turn into deed. But here we're talking about the godly concepts, the godly hisboinus, and this needs to happen. This hisboinus needs to happen in order lahavin, in order that we should have havana. We should bring the ayin into the chokhmah and into havana. We should have some bringing into our human understanding that which is above human understanding. As the Rabbi Rashav once or twice in Ayin Beis defines Havana, understanding. There's an expression, Lahavin davar metoich davar, to understand one thing from within another thing. Now that's a process of reasoning, but the way he does, it's not a process of reasoning. It's Lahavin, to understand that there are things beyond understanding. To really understand, get it, real clear, no doubt whatsoever, because it's a function of BINA that there are things which are beyond understanding. And that's a function of his blindness. Lahavin, to understand, lahaskil, and to be mindful of, bring into one's seichel, that's really literal, but I think the feeling is more to be mindful, of one, of the truth and the greatness of Hashem Yisborach. And that should be nimshecha gamkem, and that should be brought down into you also from From the Torah, from contemplation of the Torah, because Hashem has invested himself in the Torah, right? Anoichi, Rashi Tevis, Ani Nafshi Kosmis Yavis, I gave my very self into the Torah. So his boininess in the Torah is his boininess, its contemplation of the presence, with the presence of God himself, because he has invested himself in the Torah. So that his level of his boininess is drawn from the Torah, because, as the Zohar says, the eraisa, the chokhmah, nafka, because the Torah itself is drawn out from God's chokhmah. And that God's chokhmah, he bechinas yud, is the bechina of the yud of the Shem Havaya. So with this, we see that we are constructed yud ke vav ke, makshava, heart, deed, action. And that is a model, we model in our being, the yud ke vav ke of Hashem. And more than that, we model it. That is invested within us, and that is our entire root being. With that preface, we can now go on soon to talk about, okay, what's tshuva? What does it mean to return? Means to, in a way, we'll explore this at length, to become conscious of and aware of and to put into practice the lower hay that we have of God's presence and the upper hay that we have of God's presence. So that is today's Tanya. Rivka, what's you got to say?
I think this is very beautiful, and it gives us not only, as you say, a map of ourselves, but a map of the purpose of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And
want to explain that a bit? Yeah, I agree with it.
Which also fits into the idea of tshuva, as you say, how to get back to our purpose, to get aligned.
Get back to where you once belonged.
I know. I was trying not to quote that, but it just, it was there.
It's so good. So good.
All right.
And where you do belong, and where you really always are, except you may not be conscious of it.
Sure. But and to emphasize that the physicality is really where it's at, because that's why would Hashem go through all this otherwise? Why would what's this whole long big historicalist, this whole big story about otherwise? And how that through the physical actions that we do in our daily life really are connecting us all the way back to the source and the whole intention and purpose of creation. Nice stuff.
Absolutely. And I guess we should add that since we've just discussed the whole descent in terms of consciousness, the physical actions we do, of course, ma'aseh hu ha'ikar, but you can't compare a mitzvah b'loi kavana with a mitzvah with kavana, and the kavana is there for the taking, because our heart and soul are there too, and are meant and designed to be fully present in the deeds that we do.
Right. That's more for us than for Hashem, I think, right?
I don't think so.
I know, that's another discussion. We've had this before.
I don't think so.
But it feels good when we think we're really spiritual.
Yeah, but that feel good isn't for us. It's for him. But then you say, it is another discussion. He wouldn't have made it this way. He could have just, it could have been a slave relationship, right? Where I'm binding you to do these deeds. And there's some of that. And there is
the Ben and the Evid.
Well, but there is the Ben. And that's important. Yeah. That's important not to forget.
Or Bat, as you will.
There is the Ben. Elisheva.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is just something that I think about when you say to connect our finitude with his infinity.
Yeah.
That it's not like, that sounds like we're two separate things, that we are finite and he separately is infinite, and we got to connect. but really we're one and the same. We're one thing. And
Yes.
if he is infinite, then we're also infinite. And
Right.
even physically, if a seed rots underground, it doesn't actually cease to exist. It now exists in a tree. And
No, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And also when we die, our bodies, continue with our children, or even like, I don't know biologically how it works, when human beings are planted in the earth, but I don't know. I just wanted
No, no, you do know. And you're having some articulating it, but you're absolutely right. And it relates to what Rivka and I were just talking about before. The seed is a great example. From the perspective of deed, if you just look at what's going on, the seed is rotting in the ground. But the fact is that opening up leads to fruition, right? So similarly, the mitzvahs maisius that we do contain, and they're very finite, right? This, that, not this, that. But at the same time, I think the seed example is a great one. They're each seeds, the purpose of which is to release a tremendous ore, the light which comes from the darkness. And the reason that we can do that is because we are an encapsulation of the infinite in the finite. We're not finite, we are infinite, right? We hold infinity in the palm of our hand. We just have to release it. Yeah.
And regarding what Rivka was saying and you were saying about our different relationships with Hashem, on Shabbos, we change Ro'enu, our shepherd, to Re'enu, our friend, Re'a,
Right.
like our lover, our partner.
Right.
And that's what Mashiach is Yom Shekulo Shabbos. So
Yes.
we graduate from being a sheep to a wife. And so now I think our job is to relate to Hashem intimately, like with Dea.
Absolutely.
Mal ha'aretz Dea is Hashem. So we're no longer, I feel like, our sheep status has been kind of,
right.
Yeah,
I'm with you. You're saying beautifully, nicely put, by the way. And in addition to that, this is the time when mitzvahs need to be done in that manner, with the full awareness, the full explosion, the full sense of the infinity which is within us, because that is the geula, where godliness is revealed. No, we don't have to talk more about this, but we all know the difference between the mitzvahs that a person does out of habit versus the mitzvahs that one does with the kind of chayas you're talking about. And that's what Hashem wants from us, to reveal that. Yeah.
And also the way that Hashem says, I will do to you midah keneged midah. If you leave me, then I will leave you. It's just because we are a chelek Elokam imal. So when we leave our godliness, our own godliness, it's just, of course, the godliness will leave us, because that's
one thing.
Yeah, it's one thing.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Adel. Who's
yeah,
Adel?
so hi, I'm sorry that it comes out
Raisa,
wrong.
why do you keep going? Oh, that's
all right, hello, good
your
morning.
Daughter? Okay.
So the hay goes horizontally, and then it goes the gam oref. It has length.
Right.
And you are bringing forth with your BINA. And also, I think it's interesting that it says binaso vehisponanuso, which I think would mean that BINA, Hashem gave you that ability,
right,
but hisponanus is using it.
Excellent. Yeah, good.
But it seems to be saying that it's a downward extension, which I thought it was more like when a person generates ahava, love of Hashem and fear of Hashem, they're accessing depth. So they're
accessing what? They're accessing
depth.
What?
Depth,
as in deep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the down must be a different kind of down. It's not like a lesser.
No, right. It's deeper. It's externalized. Down means external, up means more internal. So Ava is in your heart, needs to be externalized in terms of application in relationship. That's down, from inner to outer.
Yeah, but what I don't understand about this is that it's not like, I understand that Hashem, there's Hishtalshelus so that there could be this world. But when I do a mitzvah if I can do it, which is not every day, maybe Shabbos, but to generate Ahavas Hashem and Yiras Hashem and, and infuse my mitzvah with that does not seem to me to be down. That seems to me to be
you're right.
a higher level.
It's not lower. That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a great job, but I've always said all these words, lamaila umata, higher and lower, are all need to be understood as inner and outer. In other words, when we say that Hashem is lamaila midis, he's higher than this, he's not higher. He's much, much deeper. And when we say the word is lower, it means that he's much more manifest. So this is not coming down, meaning lower. This means coming out in terms of expressing it in a way that's felt and revealed. Gilui. So that's a good example. Helam versus Gilui. Helam is lamaila, deeper, and Gilui is lamata, exposed. Expose your innerness.
So that's our goal. The other thing I wanted to just, Elisheva was speaking about this. What we are bringing into Revelation, into Gilui in this chapter, is that we were never separate from Hashem because we have within us that Os Yud. So it's not that. It's just that it's a voice that has to be brought out. It's a chayas that has to be brought out. But we were never separate from Hashem.
Correct.
That's what it's saying. It's saying the neshama is like that yod of Hashem's creation, is the neshama within us. And also, yes, we are eternal. What I was wondering in this discussion, which I had never thought of before, is, okay, I could say I'm eternal and that my task for today is to take these hours of the day and as much as possible make them eternal by choosing Torah and mitzvos. But what I just thought of that Elisheva might be hinting at was perhaps within my neshama there is the eternal dimension of my ancestors, and I never thought of that.
Well, that's for sure. Avos and Imos are in our spiritual DNA. That's for sure.
So when we say, let's say we start at Shemona Esrei and we say Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it's not just that they're related to me. It's that within my neshama, I have those Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. It's in me.
Sure. Magen Avram, right? We're talking about us. Magen Avram, yeah, absolutely. And therefore, these are great points, guys. You're making some hugely beautiful points. Therefore what?
Rosie, that was beautiful. I didn't think about that backwards. I was only thinking forwards, but it's so true. So true. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And therefore, every there's no such thing as a small mitzvah. Like you think of the mitzvah as a yud. But look how that, look what that yud
explodes
into. So there's no such thing. Whether it's, I just think that it's just wonderful because it makes the whole concept of tshuva. This is what Hasidus does. A little bit of tshuva, as much as a yud, will do you a lot of good. That's what I would say.
Remember the Frierdiker Rebbe's banner expression, alter l'tshuva, alter l'geula. The quicker, the better, the deeper the shuva, which is tshuva, to return, restore, bring out, begilui, elokus, That is instantiation of Geula, from Geula Prati to Geula Klali. Beautiful. I think, anything else? I mean, this is a lot, and this is amazing. All right, until we meet again. Tomorrow, Mir Hashem. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.